stuff there, some developments.
Sorry, Imran, I didn't mean for that to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. That's fine because we needed this recorded. So shall we just start up?
Sounds good.
Actually, there is one thing. Let me share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Where is my screen sharing? Right. So we can see the calendar here, right? You guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Right. So what we've normally had up to now was the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. And so that's been fine for these months. But next month,
Then
that
it
goes.
switches. Mhm.
Yeah, it's switching. Now, if that means that we're going to do the meeting every 2 weeks, that's fine as well, I think. But we do need to get that message across to the others. What do you
We
think?
do.
Yeah, David, should we just stick it as every 2 weeks and that's it? Keep it simple?
Well, to be honest, I don't think it is.
It is.
I mean,
Easy.
originally it was twice a month. I was going to bring this up because I think there's been some confusion. I think when Cassandra was doing this, it was twice a month. So it was always the second and fourth Tuesday of each month. And I think, yeah, there's been some, and then we were kind of tripped up by that probably around this time last year, in that
Yeah.
then suddenly
Yeah.
there's like a 3-week gap between meetings. But the benefit of having a regular time during the month for the meeting is that we don't clash with other working groups.
It's true. It's true.
Because as it is coming into
Right,
April now, where
it'll start to clash.
yeah, well, I don't think it will clash in terms of being at the exact same time. But for example, the second meeting will be on the same day as the Windows
Right.
working group, although it will be an hour earlier. I mean, normally it isn't like that. So personally, my preference is that we go back to or stick to the twice a month routine, because then everybody's clear when it is.
Sure.
So
twice a month,
think
and
that.
it's
Sure. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't interrupt. I think that the way that Cassandra had the meeting, because I inherited it, was every other week instead of the second and the fourth. So I just left it as is.
no, it's actually the second and fourth. This was the discussion I started at the time. And
Right. But when I actually went into the meeting, either she couldn't do it that way in Zoom or she didn't know how. So I'll go change that, because I think that's where it's tripped up, or it was that way. Because I just
Okay.
inherited the meeting and put it into my Outlook calendar.
Right, I
I
see.
didn't change it.
I think
And
what
so she
happened
probably
is
just adjusted it, and that's
Yes.
fine. I can update it.
it was when this calendar started up that I think a lot of things went awry. So it was
Yes.
the old calendar. So I'm not saying it's yourself, but it's when we switched over calendars, something happened at that point where because we was always on the second and fourth. In fact, that was the instructions that Cassandra had given, and she wasn't even joining the meetings. She had it scheduled somehow. And when we were connecting, it was all there and it was recording automatically. And you said you can't do that with the new setup with VMware and stuff. Maybe there's something they've got a control that doesn't allow you to do that.
Maybe when we converted it to their Zoom.
Yeah, to their Zoom.
happened.
Yeah, something happened with their Zoom. Yeah.
I'll go check and I'll update that, because I was unaware. She told me just every other Tuesday. And I was
okay.
like, huh?
I think it's just a bit of a confusion, really, just because
Sure.
normally it is every other Tuesday, but then there are certain times in the year when that doesn't work out, and
Exactly.
you end up with 3 weeks between meetings, which, I mean, is fine as well, because it gives us a few more weeks to work on things or whatever. But personally, I think overall it works better that we're stuck on a definite time of the month.
Absolutely.
You mean the second and the fourth, yeah?
The second and the fourth, yeah.
All right, because at the moment, looking at the schedule here, which is every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
it doesn't seem to be clashing with anything. What was it
It
clashing with?
doesn't.
You were saying the Windows is here. You see.
They
well, it's
moved
next
their
month, which is
time.
April. And I mean, yeah, it doesn't clash in the sense of being at the exact same time,
Right.
but it would they'd be not running one after the other, which I mean, I would tend to go to both. And
So
so,
where is that? I can't see one where that's happening. I'm trying to look through the
it's next month.
next month. You mean April?
Let me look. I saw it earlier.
Here's April, and the current one isn't clashing there.
Yeah,
And
what's on that 20th with the dots?
the 20th, oh, with the dots. All right, so there's more there. You see.
Mm.
Got you. Right. So there is. So what's the SART Windows working group working to? Is that a certain day of the month?
Yeah,
Yes.
just once a month, which will
Oh.
be well, whatever it is, the third
Right.
All right.
Tuesday of the month.
So there is that sort of setup, the third Tuesday of the month. Got you. Right. So basically, going back to the second and fourth is best, probably for everyone, really, because we're used to that already.
Yeah, I agree.
I will
Is that
update it. Yep.
so? That will go
That's
to the
fine.
13th then for
Mhm.
next month. Is that right? We'll have a 3-week gap between this meeting and the next.
That's
Yeah,
right.
All right, great. That's fine. I mean, that goes with our original setup anyway, which is what I was digging for there. And everyone's pretty used to that, second and fourth.
Yep.
All right, good. And by next meeting anyway, when I was looking at the time and date thing, just to confirm, so this won't be the 6th anyway, but even if it was, we all start going back onto summertime by then. The Europeans, we will get
Yeah.
the extra hour again. So we'll go back to 4 o'clock again.
yeah,
Yeah. So that'll be fine. Okay, so next meeting will be the 13th, not the 6th.
Sounds good. I will update.
Fantastic. So that solves all that. And we've dealt with the calendar issue. Next thing, I was going to give Daniel a chance to just clarify any bits from this PR. But since he's not around, we'll have to do this just on GitHub, I think, unless he joins the meeting somehow a little bit later on. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to cover, was there anything particular you wanted to cover, David? Otherwise, I mean, before I start going on.
not particularly.
All right.
I have been working on something, but it's not ready. It's not ready for public demonstration.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it, by the way?
Well, it's to do with the Vagrant box that we use for Windows testing. I mean, it's basically Windows 8.1 at the moment and has been for several years. I'm working on a box for Windows 10. So,
All right, good, excellent. In fact,
yeah,
this will be quite interesting to look at some of the stuff I've been doing with Vagrant as well over the last couple of weeks. So I'll bring that up in a minute, but I'm just going to skip to something else first. So that's the main thing. There is the Vagrant thing, yeah.
for me, yeah.
All right, excellent. We'll match that up with the discussion when I get to that bit. Right. What's just happened is I run this a little bit earlier today because I wanted to integrate. There's a few things that are in the SSF formula which are only being applied to certain formulas. For example, the share suite. Let me just pull one of these open. Let's come back to this one in a minute because this is an exception. Let's just go to one of the normal ones. I'll explain it from there. So I don't want cache out. Let's close that. So what I've run today is across all of the formulas, confirming that what I'm suggesting works across all the formulas. So it's like, if you like, a weekly test of all of our CI across all formulas, and everything's passing, which is the good news. There's a few failures there were just minor things like version numbers, which I've also just gone ahead and fixed. So let's just take any formula, it doesn't matter. The commit behind it is the same sort of idea. I don't like this view in GitLab. I find it a bit more difficult to read. I could open this in GitHub. It'll take some time. Is that okay? I mean, it's very easy to read. All right, don't worry about these little bits here in the GitLab YAML. That's just to get the actual test running the way we need it. So there's a few little problems just throughout that I've just tried to adjust all in one go to see whether that's okay to spread to all the formulas. This is a minor thing. We was getting a warning about using excluded methods in Rubicop. So just updating that to ignored method, that works fine. Don't worry about Travis, same thing. All right, the gem file, there's just a comment, nothing there. Right, it's this over here. So we have the map data state that we've begun to use for verifying the map ginger across formulas. At the moment, this is
Mm.
only being used in the formulas that are actually doing the verification. But what I'm proposing here is we actually push this into all formulas now, and including actually running this map data state, which just produces the map ginger, produces the dump of the map ginger, which shows it in the CI. So if I just open any one of these, what we get as a benefit is in the debug output. See, this is why I wanted GitHub. It's a little bit easier to work with here. Searching and stuff. I can't search so well here off the bat. Just 1 second. Oh, there we go. And if I look for map ginger dump, is it? There you go. So what we'll end up getting in as one of the benefits of doing this is that we get a dump in all of our debug output, so we can just see what's going on from the merging in formulas, even if they're not verifying it just yet. But for each, not just for obviously the formula, but for each instance that's run for that formula, they'll all be showing us what the map is merging, and we'll be getting that from now. That's one of the parts of the proposal. I mean, do you get the idea behind what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware that not all formulas were verifying that map data.
Okay, that's only been applied because that means going through each formula and actually collecting that data into verification
Yeah,
files that are being
I
used.
thought that Daniel had made some script for that or something along these lines. Maybe I wasn't up to date with. I mean, I know it's a lot of work because when I had to do that fix on the salt formula, I had to apply the change to every map data file.
Yeah. I've got a script of my own as well, which I'm sure could help ease that, because I'm just thinking, how could that be made a bit easier? Okay, that's the verifier itself. This isn't actually going to cause that problem, what I'm suggesting here in this set of changes.
Yeah, I'm just saying producing
producing the dump basically. And so it's there in the debug output. And also these formulas then are already, if we do want to actually bring the verification files in and start making that take place in inspec, it's very easy to do because they already have all the states in place. Yep. So each formula and each suite will have this run separately. So this will be run across all suites, as you'll see in a minute when I show you the kitchen.yaml. So don't worry about that. That's just as testing. But for each suite, it's adding the map data state. So it's run. So that, again, that dump is producing the debug output. So just adding that across all formulas now. And also, because we've got this share suite that we've put it into the template formula and stuff, which just brings it brings almost like a salt stack version of grains. We're almost building the grains like they are in salt stack instead of the Ruby versions or the inspect versions that they are. Yeah. And just having these spread into all formulas now. So again, if we in our inspect test, we want to use those values instead, that they're available in all formulas straight away.
Okay.
Yeah. So just pushing this out to all formulas as well, and making sure that all the inspect YAML files have this depends block added to them as well. Yeah. So that they are depending on it, even if they're not using it, but they're ready to go in case we need to use them. So these are the things I sort of pushed across all formulas to make sure that there's no problems. And when I just did this a few hours back, everything passed. There were a couple of failures at first, but those weren't, like I said, they were just version numbers. So when I updated the version numbers and I pushed those through to the formulas, version numbers that they're trying to pull from the internet that are no longer there or needed updating, just fix those. But otherwise, it's all passing across all formulas. So what I really wanted to do was there's only the two of us now, but if I was to now go ahead and push that across all the formulas, this commit basically for each formula, is there any problem in doing that? Because I've tested it and it's
well, no, it's because it's not destructive of anything, is it? It's just adding information. So yeah, it's fine with me.
Yeah,
and it doesn't affect the the state of the actual formula or the pillars or anything like that. So
Yeah,
so,
not at
yeah.
all. It's just the map data state that's going into all the formulas, running across all the CI, and the share suite is there in case we want to start using it. Because there's been times I've been in other formulas that don't have the share suite, and I've wanted to just get that really quick. When we build those case statements, sometimes
Yeah,
you're juggling between, because Arch and Gentoo, they are under Linux, and it's like you just want to be able to call them directly by what they are. And our system, our Ruby file over here makes it a little bit easier to work through. So for example, it when we're looking for a platform name, instead of looking for Linux, we now just look for Arch and Gentoo, and just things like that. It just makes it so much easier if the share suite's already in place across formulas. So if there's no objections, I'm going to push that through in the next day or so. Just get that out there so we can keep moving forward. All right, so that's really about that. And we can close these because those are passing. There was one I didn't get a chance to check, before the meeting, but it's a few formulas have two versions. They have the NG version and they have the normal version. And I can't remember if I handled that. So I just wanted to quickly just look for that and see what's actually happened. And for that, I need to look at this one over here. So this formula over here, if we go to, I just really want to get to GitHub. I find myself a little bit lost over this side. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the commit. And I just wanted to see what the SSF did here because I didn't get a chance to have a look and make sure that it's not doing something strange on these formulas. So do you know what I mean? If we went to the actual apt cache formula, I don't have it open here. Let's go to source like formulas. So this is one of the formulas that still has effectively two versions. So it's got the normal version here for apt cache, the original one, but then it has another whole formula inside it under the NG. Now we're mainly testing and looking at the NG only. We're not looking at the other one. Maybe this formula really just needs to be updated and move that NG back into the normal position. But in the meantime, I just wanted to remind myself, what did we actually do? What did these set of changes that I'm proposing, what do they do? So I'll have to look at my branch for a minute. So where am I? Too many branches. What branch was that? Can you see the branch name anywhere? I'm struggling to find it. It'll be under the commit, won't it? Oh, here we go. CI test master. All right, so I've got the map data here, which is under the end. Now, what did I put here? Did I put it in both? No, I didn't. Okay, so what I've done, I must have done it for the one that's actually being tested in the CI. So for these formulas, we're generally only testing either the main formula or the NG. And normally when there's an NG, we're always testing the NG part because that's obviously the one we're trying to push towards. So the map data state will only be under the NG. It won't be under the normal older formula, if you like. Do you get my point? As in, yeah. So I just wanted to just make sure it wasn't doing anything silly. And I remember I did deal with that as well by putting it under the NG. So as long as that's okay, I just want to push this out there to the formulas so that this is another standardization that's already being taken care of. And again, this is a free test across all the formulas. And the good news is we're still holding up with all the latest master pre-salted images. So we're looking good from a CI perspective at the moment. That was a test for this week and it's looking good. There's the FreeBSD. We'll come to that in a minute. Right. So now the thing I wanted to talk about, the Vagrant thing, is I looked at the SSF last week to see how can we deal with, that Windows testing that I tried to do a while back. So I had a look back at, remember I was trying to put it from the SSF to get it out there. For the packages formula, was it, I think? We was,
What are you referring to now?
I'll show
You
you.
actually changed the name of the file. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Now I've just skipped.
No?
So I'm saying is, remember we were trying to get let's see that pull request there in the packages formula, test using GitHub Actions, and I was trying to build
Right.
this. You reviewed a lot of this. I was trying to
Right, I
build
see.
this from the SSF. Yeah, do you remember this
Yeah.
PR?
Okay. Well, I don't remember it. No, to be honest.
It's been a while, but the point is this CI that you originally provided. I was trying to
Yeah.
find a way of generating that from the SSF formula instead.
Right. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, looking at that, and I was trying to work out a few things around it, I've got to an interesting place where we can even get vagrant testing being done using GitHub Actions.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're talking about using the Mac image. Yeah, the Mac
Yep.
machine.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah,
Using
I've become aware of that recently, and I've actually, because you can also use that to make the Packer build
Okay.
of the box. So yeah, I was quite surprised about that, to be honest, because I've been looking for a virtual box in the cloud for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually surprised to even find it because I did look thoroughly last time, and I wasn't making any progress. And then I came across an issue in the GitHub runners section or something. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, they were mentioning they'd enabled it for Mac OS. So I was like, let's try this out. Let's see what happens. Because also another problem is a while back we got some free BSD vagrant testing added to certain formulas, but it was for version 12 only, 12.0, and that's now discontinued. So that was no longer working. I mean, even locally, it wasn't working anymore. So I was looking for, is there some sort of solution where we can not only update that, but also have it running in the CI itself, so it actually runs with our PRs and stuff. And the good news is it is, and including your original Windows as well, the 8.1 that you've got the vagrant image.
Right.
So we've
how long does that take to run then?
not very long. I mean, it's the whole all four of them took 13 minutes.
13 minutes. Okay. I mean, because obviously presumably needs to download like a 5 gig.
Yeah, your one is the
image.
longest there. Yeah. So it's got the 12 minutes there. But I do
that's very interesting.
I do feel it got faster on a subsequent run.
I would have thought there'd be some caching going on. Maybe.
Yeah, or maybe there's a way to enable it. But the other two, I mean, the free BSDs were really, really fast. I mean, I was expecting something a lot longer than 5 minutes.
Presumably, the box for BSD is probably a lot smaller than Windows. That's what I can imagine.
Probably. But because we've got maybe more vagrant images that are coming out soon. I know the new version of FreeBSD is imminent. I think it's at the end of the month, version 13. So having this available that's being produced in the SSF would make a big difference because there's quite a few formulas that get free BSD PRs, and we've got no idea. No testing, so we just have to accept that it's been tested by the person pushing the PR, and that's normally not a problem. But it'd be really good to just be able to confirm that, having some CI available for that. But another thing I did do, I'd like your opinion on this, is from the actual GitHub Actions itself, we're using the proxy driver.
Yeah,
the existing one. I noticed that they had two versions of Windows available, 2019, which is the one you've been using, Windows latest, and they've also got 2016. So I looked at providing both of those as well from that side. So you've got both of those configured. So it runs on the 2019 and the 2016. Any reason why that would be a bad idea?
No, other than the only reason I didn't go down that road originally is that I don't think that the differences between the versions are significant enough to affect what we're testing. That's the only reason. I mean, I don't think that there's a significant difference for the things that we are testing. I mean, obviously there will be differences between 2016 and 19, but I mean, this is just my impression and why I didn't kind of pursue that a lot, because I just thought, mostly with Windows, if something runs on one version, it will run on the next. That's the only reason. So it's almost in a way a bit of a waste of resources in a way, but I'm not against it at all.
Right. Okay, so that'd be fine if we went with that as well to push that through. Because what I wanted to do was get all of the possibilities and know that the SSF is designed in a way that it can handle all of that. Because the way I was going about it for this original PR in the packages formula that I showed a minute ago, it was just concentrating on this one method that we had at the time, which was using 2019 or Windows latest in GitHub Actions, and that was it, because we weren't even considering Vagrant. And by considering everything, it helped make sure that the structure that I've put together is a bit more, it's prepared for all sorts of
all eventualities.
All eventualities, yeah. Because when you put something together one way and then you have to change it afterwards, that's very, very painful. It's a lot of work to get it more or less right, or closer to being, well structured at the beginning. For this type of thing is a lot better. But in terms of resource usage, then I know that the Mac OS is, it's considered a lot heavier in the sense of when GitHub Actions, when they charge for it, they charge for it at 10 units compared to the 1 unit of Linux. I think we spoke about this last time, was it? So each
I don't remember this kind of discussion, but because I wasn't aware of this units thing. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing with the Mac is they must have like hundreds of Macs in a data center or something, Mac Minis or something, Whereas I think with the Linux stuff, it's a lot more. It must be containerized, I would imagine. Plus the fact that they've probably got thousands of Linux boxes out there.
Yeah, they're easy to spin up, whereas these are a lot more complicated.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Mac version, Mac hosts or whatever, are like you have a single host for your run. Yeah, there must be, because I don't know of any other way that they could offer VirtualBox on it, if you get what I mean.
So should we is there something we need to consider in that? Because when I was reading behind it, they're saying anything that's a public repository, that's not going to get charged at that. So it's not like a charging issue I'm talking about so much, but it's from a resources standpoint. Is there any considerations we should have here, or if it's available, let's use it?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because we don't have insight into, how many of those machines are available and if they're oversubscribed and that kind of thing. I think at least at this stage, we should probably try and use as much as we can.
Until we get some...
until we get some feedback that that's not acceptable, whatever, because it's always going to be easy to roll things back, I would imagine, just by changing the matrix.
Yeah. And anyway, the actual the YAML files behind this can still be used locally for local testing. Even if this doesn't hold up for very long, they're still useful. They're still useful at a local side for testing things out. So just go with it for now and see how we get along, right?
Yeah.
Right. Let's look at the construction of some of this. My only problem is it's lots and lots of commits because I was trying different things out. So I want to get a summary of everything. So I just have to figure out my GitHub food to work out how to do that again. I know there is a way, and I've just forgotten how to do it. 1 second. So if we go here and we're looking at this particular branch, that's fine. So let's open that. But I want to see everything between this and that's the thing. Do you remember how to compare between branches?
Well, there's that compare button that you set there, and then click through to that, and you can choose which. So in that line across the center, you can choose like the base and the.
Right. So it'll be this, but it won't be master. it will be, let me remind myself what it will be. I've gone to the wrong place. It will be, I could do it here, but that would be the upstream branch, I think, or upstream master. All right, so I can just do it. No, that was it. What was already there was fine, because 175. I've done it between the wrong places. So let's just go back a second. Right, I think this is everything here. Let's see. I mean, these will all be cleaned up, of course. Wait, where's the files changed? Okay, so remember, I think last time we spoke about rename, we actually did it as well. We renamed the workflow files to match the actual file in the root directory. So that was changing it to kitchen.windows.yaml, and we have a kitchen.windows.yaml in the top directory as well. So sticking to the same thing here, this one obviously matches up with kitchen.vagrant.yaml in the top directory. Yeah. So, and what I've done across all of these files, even if we're not using a matrix, is just to use that same structure over here. So having this little block and putting them in like this, rather than, so even for the Windows one, when we look down in a minute, I've just put that in there just to keep it standardized. So all of these files are similar. Do you get, you'll see in a minute what I mean. I'll show you that. I'll show you what I mean. So that's fairly straightforward. Not much has to be done here in terms of the steps. But it's otherwise it's very similar. Again, the same sort of things you've done already, and just running the matrix instance again as you've done already. Yeah. So I think that file is fairly straightforward. Just a little bit of fiddling around here. Again, all of this was really just looking at. Sorry. Hello.
No, you just broke up a little. Yeah, you.
Am I breaking?
You can hear me, but well, you were a little, but no, it's okay.
Okay, so the only adjustments here really are just a standard between all of the YAML files, that they all look more or less the same or are in the same structure or format, but nothing really changes except for this block over here. If we just view this file separately, it'll probably be a bit easier to see what I mean. So the bad thing about GitHub Actions is they don't deal with you know the node anchors, because I was hoping just to use one liner here where you just use a node anchor to fill in the rest, but it doesn't handle that at the moment. So it's just a duplication.
Right.
And like I said, we are setting up this little block here, which is unnecessary, but it just makes it a lot easier to manage from the SSF side of things. So we can get these values, coming through easily, and then using those values in the same way from the SSF as we do with the Linux ones. It's just keeping everything standardized. Yeah, but otherwise it's doing everything as what you've already put together. And then the 2016 runs in the same way. Yeah.
Right.
Just duplicates that block really and just runs on. Unless there's a quick way of choosing what it runs on. Is there any way of, because that's the only difference. It's the runs on between this block and this one. Is there any way of setting that in the matrix bit? Probably not.
I would have thought so, but I haven't looked at. I mean, yeah, I haven't reached that far into actions yet.
Right. If we can, that would be great. If we can't, it's not a big deal. It's only 2 of them anyway, and again, it's all been automatically produced, so not much to worry about there. So that's that. That's fairly simple and straightforward. What's this? Okay, there's nothing here. This is just to make sure Linux testing isn't running, because I only want to test the Windows and Vagrant. We've seen that. That's fine. So in terms of this file here, where and in the salt formula, if you see, we had the suites were inside the actual kitchen vagrant.yaml. What I've elected to do, I think I mentioned this before, is to put all the suite information and keep it in the kitchen.yaml. So all the suites are in one place together, and just you're accessing that as when you use this anyway. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in this file. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have to keep this over here. And instead, what we have is we set up the general structure of the driver. And this is based on FreeBSD mainly because we have more BSD platforms than Windows. And so it's very straightforward. I mean, that's all the BSDs as usual. In the Windows, we just need to obviously override some of these settings again to put them back to the either default or the Windows-based ones. But like I said, all of this is being produced from the SSF now, including our little discovery about having to use exit 0 and stuff. And we provision everything with the Bootstrap. That's not for the Windows though. So the salt install there is being overridden and using none there because you already have it pre-salted. And that'll stay with the Windows 10 that you make. It'll still be pre-salted, right?
Yeah. That's definitely the plan. Yes.
Okay. So again, that would just be to slot in as another entry here, or would it become the entry and would get rid of 8.1? Would that be the plan?
I would probably keep 8.1 around because I use it in work for various reasons, but it could become the general standard. Yeah.
Okay. But either way, we're ready for both. We can handle both. No problem. Just another entry here and we're done for that as well. And hopefully that will run fine as well in the CI. So that's that file over there. That's the only changes there. Any problems so far that you can see? Okay, let's have a quick look at this because this just explains some. You remember we discussed the naming of them, and we were thinking about at the time just naming them all Windows. But I've elected to again use the same structure as we have for our Linux platforms with the names of across. So it's just easier to identify what we're working with, especially when you want to run them locally and stuff. It's just good to have an instance name that's unique.
Sure.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think all of that's the same as it was before. I'm just proposing that we go to the latest version as well, rather than 3003. 3000.3 it was, I think, before. We just test on the latest version like we are with a lot of the Linux platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always the plan with Windows, at least at this stage.
Yeah, I noticed that with the latest box that you've produced that it is 3002.5 anyway. So let's just test on that rather than pushing to an older version for no reason.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so those things are fairly straightforward. And then again, see, this is the benefit it brings from the angle of kitchen.yaml is we're just making entries that look similar to the Linux ones, and we just put them in the includes where they're being used. And I think it's a fairly easy format to work with when it's in the same structure as the rest. Yeah. These other changes aren't specific to the SSF. These were other things I had to mess around with, things that will have to be looked into actually, because some parts I wasn't getting some parts working properly where, if the package was already installed, for example, it was saying, it was having a problem with that. So that's a salt stack issue. I'll have to discuss that with someone else at some point. So none of these are really worth discussing. That's a Windows fix that we've had in a few issues where it's the original, this ID command isn't working on a lot of Windows boxes. And anyway, just some updates here that we needed for these new Vagrant images particularly. So what will happen as well is I'm proposing that we're going to push this through to all formulas, have OpenBSD there by default in the inspect YAML, so that they'll be tested as well wherever they're activated. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. This over here, because we've also now got the Windows Server 2016 data center, rather than having a long line here, just a simple line where if it begins with Windows, then just use Windows as the name. So this isn't that little system RB that we're using to keep it simple. And there's nothing else interesting, I think. I think the rest of it is just standard, tests and stuff like that that aren't anything particular there. What's this? All right, and then these are the verification files that we were discussing earlier. Obviously, they're activated in the salt formula. And because of our library there, we're able to add these in quite simply. That's the one for OpenBSD, and there's one for FreeBSD below as well. But no, there's nothing else here, I think. All right, so it's like this, for example. You see, this can be cleaned up now. Because we're using our library, we could do it in a way where we use the library instead of using platform family from InSpec, we could use our own version of it and then target a lot easier rather than having this extra case block over here,
Yeah.
which is just a bit more verbose than it needs to be. But that's a separate issue. Yeah, and that's about it, I think. I don't think there's anything else interesting here. That's the main changes. Let me just see. But if that's looking okay to you, I'm proposing to push that PR to the salt formula first. We can discuss if there's any last little bits that aren't, appropriate or need to be adjusted. And if it works in the salt formula, then we can start actually using this for our existing Windows testing that's out there. And then any other formulas that have that use FreeBSD, for example, or any
Sure.
BSD, just start pushing this out there. And would this go into the template formula? I mean, if it's working across the other ones.
Well, it kind of, I mean, we don't have Windows in the template formula as of now.
I think we can discuss this once we get this out.
I think we need a wider discussion on that, because it almost makes the template formula kind of really big in a way.
It already is really big.
Well, yeah, I know. So I don't know. Yeah, we can discuss this further.
Yeah, I guess what we can still do is just point people to formulas where these things are active and they can go and get those little bits from there, the blocks that they need. But anyway, we can discuss that after getting some of these formulas converted. But as long as the general implementation here that I'm proposing, it looks okay, I'll put that through in a PR, once I tidy up the SSF, and that way we can then start using that to, like I said, standardize and get this pushed out to any formulas using, BSD, Windows, get some testing out there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is all of that, and that's working fine. But that's the main two things from my side. So the stuff I said earlier about the share suite, pushing that out, and then this Vagrant testing. And there's lots of other little issues here and there. Like there's quite a few PRs came in the last week, and I haven't had a chance to look at them at all. And I'm really not sure how to get reviews. We're still stuck in this problem of not really having many people around to review things, and I'm not sure what to do about that. Again, I keep thinking it just needs to be made easier for contributors to do something. What should they be doing when they can't get any help because there's no one around to review? What's our policy?
Well, I think the only policy we have at the moment, isn't it, that people should come to Slack and, I mean, like I've said this before, I don't have every formula notifications enabled for every formula because, I don't know, for me, that would just be crazy almost. But if there was something that needed review and I had like half an hour, I would do it. But there's kind of but I'll be honest, I don't go out looking for this stuff. So yeah, I thought the kind of the only real policy was, well, come to Slack and ping us. If nobody's looked at it in a week or whatever, then ping us. And, I would see what I can do.
Yeah, I'm not so much talking about maybe ourselves, because we're all showing some time and interest in the whole project anyway. But obviously, there's a how do we draw in a wider reviews from a wider base of people?
Right.
Or we have to really do something to make it.
Go ahead.
Yep.
We have a similar problem, and I think that we've done a couple of things to try to get reviews as well, and that's talking about it, in the channels, and then setting up a place for people to go see where to review. Like if this is the best view, to ask for reviewers and to ping people specifically in a specific platform, either here in GitHub, and you could even set up in GitHub so that if you have a team in your org, you can assign it to people that are part of, like, say, the work group, and put together a policy and ask people to join that team, so that it will, like, round robin assign it as a reviewer to people. And then you just have to check if you've been assigned as a reviewer in GitHub, which it's one of the top, in your top bar in GitHub, if you're logged in, if what you're assigned to as a reviewer. Or you could simply ask for people to come and review at certain times, like we do at the Tuesday triage. Sometimes we ask for people to review PRs if it's been put in as a new issue. And at other times, we've thought about also opening it up to just more people and saying, we'd love to have more reviews. Anybody can review, please do. But it is about getting specific skill sets to a specific PR. And I'm not sure how to do that either. If you guys think of something, I'd be interested to try it as well with SaltStack and Salt. And I can also ask the core team to help review with formulas as well.
Yeah, no, what happened is obviously these formulas were provided by contributors in the past, and a lot of those original contributors have gone. So the first natural batch of people that you'd expect to review formulas, they've more or less disappeared. But then we've also tried the GitHub code owners feature. So all of these formulas, on all of these, quite a large number of them might have an allocated code owner. So when a PR does come in, they'll automatically be pinged or assigned to it. But that's not actually working out too well, because even the people who have been assigned to it aren't always available. So it's getting a bit tough where there's a lot of, I just feel for these contributors. So from my side, I'm not asking anyone to step forward and start, how can I say, start reviewing lots and lots of PRs. I don't have time. I'm not going to do it either. But shouldn't we make it, I still keep thinking, shouldn't we have a mechanism to make it easier for these contributors? I don't know about merge themselves, but there has to be something.
Well, there's something that I saw. There is, I saw something, we've discussed this command line tool for GitHub, GH.
Right.
There is something in that where you can set a PR to be automatically merged once it passes the tests. So
yeah, you know what? That's already available in GitHub now.
Yeah,
but it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, does it?
It doesn't work. I've tried it everywhere.
It's not working.
It's not working for me for some reason. I've done it in some of the so allow auto merge over here. But it's not working. It's not working. I don't know what's wrong with our org. It's not working for us.
Allows setting.
We should probably go and look and see if GitHub has an open issue on that.
Yeah, everyone else, wherever I've looked for it, everyone else is like, yeah, it's working. It's great. It's not working for us.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is if a formula has the test set up and the PR passes that test, all the tests that we have and all the linting and stuff, then yeah, sure, merge it automatically. Yeah, but if it's not, if it's not working,
here's my radical idea again. I have said it in the past, and I'm not saying it as prescribing this, that we have to do this. I'm just saying we need to talk about it. If certain contributors or people who are coming across, and if we've maybe seen them before and they're contributing to a certain formula and they're showing an interest in it, shouldn't we just invite them and say, you're showing an interest, let's give you let's let you take or be part of this formula and help merge PRs for this formula, because you're obviously showing an interest in it. That just seems to me they're gone.
The only kind of caveat with me to that is that, as far as I know, the group that we have, contributors, basically gives somebody access to every formula.
Right.
Am I right in thinking
that?
Yeah. So once you're in that group, which if we could solve that piece, then I'd be happy. Then yeah.
Right. I did find something for that in the past. There's one option, but I won't be able to dig it out off the top of my head. But it was, what's it to do with? What would it be under? I'm trying to remember the search I performed. But the idea was it allows you to allocate. See, I could probably do this from the SSF, to be honest, where what it does, it uses the API and it gives a person merge access on specific formulas.
Yeah.
And if that was done,
if we could do that, then I'd be all for it.
so just say, let's introduce them to, let them contribute to this one particular formula and let them have merge access to one formula, basically.
Yeah.
And maybe start inviting people, because I think that's the only way we're going to keep this sustainable. It's not fair on 2 or 3 people to go through all these PRs and start working out a lot of formulas we're not familiar with. I mean, there's certain formulas when I look at them, I have to try and figure out what's even going on, whereas someone else might actually already be very familiar with that formula and that package. Yeah, so I'll look at that then. So maybe look at a way to give people access to specific formulas.
Yeah, if it was a bit more limited like that, then I'd be all for it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the idea behind that then, is let's try and invite some people into specific formulas to keep things moving. All right. Okay. Well, I'm done with all my stuff I wanted to discuss. I think I should be able to push this from the API now, because the reason why I didn't set this on all the formulas was it was beta at the time. So long as there's an API call that I can do to, enable this. But again, I've never seen it working on the formulas. I have enabled it for manually. I never get an auto merge button. Anyway, we can chase that up another time.
Yeah. Well, have you looked at that GH command line thing? Because there's a lot in there that's possible. And like I say, you can create the PRs using that, and it has a command line flag to set it to auto merge. So
right. It's not this one here, is it? It's another one.
No.
I can't. Yeah.
If you do github.com/CLI/CLI.
Yeah. So I'll do it from here. CLI, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And this should allow you to do the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
One word or?
I don't know where you would find it in the code. Well,
right.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Well, it's something to look at as well. It's not so much auto merging I'm concerned about, because merging after the CI is not the biggest problem. It's actually getting the reviews that's been worrying me. It's not getting someone to look over the changes before things are being merged.
Where I was going with that was if somebody, obviously they can create a PR, and if we could set that flag or option on a repo, and as long as a formula had the tests running and all of the tests succeeded, then the only thing that doesn't catch is if the code change requires a new test or whatever. But
right, so now I'm getting you. Sorry, I thought you meant a button here which a person with the right permissions can press, and that will merge the PR once the CI finishes. But what you're saying is the CI will run. So a PR is put through, the CI will run, and it will auto merge without any involvement at all.
Well, I don't know if that's how it works or is supposed to work. I was just, I was wondering whether that was an option that was possible.
Okay, right. So we would need to still look into that. Right. That would be an auto merge. An auto merge would be a bit dangerous, just going straight through the merging.
I agree with you there. But I was just throwing something out there, I suppose.
Yeah. I think inviting is the closest thing I can see to a solution right now. Is anyone showing an interest in a formula, invite them to be part of that formula's team to help keep that formula running. I can only see that as the option now.
Yeah, okay.
All right, great. So this is now 3 weeks until the next meeting, right?
Yes.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much, Sage, for setting everything up.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Okay, then we'll catch up again soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye.